Welcome into 5 Wide Fantasy. Today, it is that time of the year, just a couple weeks out from the NFL season, so that means we're breaking down draft strategy for each and every position that you are drafting in your fantasy football leagues. Be sure to let me know where you guys have your picks this season, but if your picks 1 through 4, I'll be breaking down the strategy overall, how I feel about what your team's going to look like in the early parts of the rounds. We'll go through how I feel about each of the positions, running back, wide receiver, tight end, quarterback, and then ultimately we'll take my strategy and I'll quickly put it into a mock draft. We'll take one of these picks and build out the team how I ideally see it fitting for you from this slot in your draft. So we'll start with the running back position, and basically the running back position, I think, gives you an idea of what the overall strategy should be for you. And for me this season, the Hero RB strategy is one of the biggest ways I'm building out my fantasy teams this year. From this early part of the draft, there are some times when I do find myself also going with like a 0 RB strategy, which we may get into depending on how obviously the draft breaks out for us. But the reason I'm going Hero RB this year is I think for a lot of you, if you've been playing for some time, you've come to the realization that there is just far too much implied risk on these early round running backs, because a lot of them have a lower hit rate when it comes to meeting their fantasy ADP or surpassing their ADP. You run into a ton of problems, whether it's lack of performance. A lot of the time it comes down to injury or just those opportunities, and that volume just isn't there or consistent on a year-to-year basis like it is at the receiver position. So for me, I'm grabbing one running back in my first usually 5-6 rounds, depending on how obviously the draft could break a little different way that I might grab that second one. But really, I'm just looking for a running back that I think has the upside to finish top 3 at the position. If I don't see that, I'm not drafting you. I'll take a wide receiver because I know I'm going to get a great floor from them. And I don't want anyone to have the mindset that they need to walk out of, let's say, any draft with 3 running backs in their starting lineup. If you are in a 2-flex league or a 1-flex league, or, we're all at least 1-flex leagues. I hope a lot of you are moving to 2-flex, getting rid of defense, getting rid of kickers. You do not need to have running backs in there. Wide receivers can be far, far more consistent and still give you the upside with far less risk. So when you're in this 1 to 4 spot, I'm looking to start with Chase or Jefferson. Those would be the ideal ones of those first 4 picks. Some of your leagues, if they really value running backs, you can easily get one of those guys. But if you don't, how I would rank these from these 4 picks with my first pick that I'm going to have from 1 to 4 is going to be Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, Christian McCaffrey, Cooper Kupp. Kupp looks to be practicing this week. He's got a good chance of being 100% for week 1. I'm back to being confident that he's going to be that guy for me. I even did have one of our listeners or one of our viewers who's been a constant in our Discord as well, chatting with me about whether or not Travis Kelce is someone he should take. And you could do that with the 4th pick, but I mean, ultimately, this is a spot where I'm usually taking a receiver, or I can get CMC as my hero RB. And for some of you, if you really love Bijan, I love Bijan, you could do that too. But that's more in terms of my liking. I really like those guys, a Bijan pick from when we talk 5 to 8. But honestly, again, there's a decent chance I start 0 RB because I'm taking the best player available in the first 2 rounds, and then we're going to go from there. At wide receiver, I've pretty much broken down how I feel about wide receiver, but just quickly, 2 of my first 3 picks are likely going to be wide receiver. 3 to 4 are going to be on my roster by the time I finish the 6th round a lot of the time. And there's just so much assured opportunity and great floor you get at the wide receiver position in these first 6 rounds that I don't think you want to miss out on. And then once you get to the later rounds, it affords you the chance of, if you're going to add any more wide receivers, you take rookies, you take high upside guys to fill out your bench that you might not play unless they turn out in that picture perfect scenario. So that's really how I'm attacking the wide receiver position this year. And then at tight end, from this particular spot in the draft, there are a couple chances to be able to get those elite guys. And for me, those 2 are, Darren Waller is one of my favorites, but I don't seem to be getting him from this spot. I don't want to reach too far in the early 5th to get him, and he doesn't fall to the back of the 6th at this point. So he's someone I haven't been able to get. But Mark Andrews, if he falls to the 3rd to me, I'm definitely happy to take him. If Hawkinson makes it back in the 5th, he's someone I'd be willing to draft from this spot as well. The reason those are the 2 players that I'd be targeting in terms of if you're going to take these earlier guys is because not only do I feel like these guys do give me positional value, but also the price that they have in the draft is in line with their production. Like the guys going around them, they can produce at that level that those players are too. So those are 2 guys you could look to target. But ultimately, I am looking to get one of those top tier guys because again, the positional value at tight end cannot be understated. At quarterback, Couple of players we'll look to again as we get into the mock here in a few minutes. Jalen Hurts and Josh Allen, if they fall to the third round, I'm definitely taking them at that spot. Again, positional value at quarterback is there. We saw a major tier break last year from the top 5 guys to the remaining guys that finished in the top 12 as QB1s. 2 others, if Justin Herbert or Justin Fields fall to me at the end of the 4th where we are, they're definitely some guys I'm comfortable taking as well, so you could definitely take them in those spots too. But again, depending on how your league values tight ends and quarterbacks, a lot of you, if you're in, not just your first year with a league, your 3rd, your 4th, you have an understanding of how people value the position, and it could change a little bit heading into this year. But I think if you know first and foremost how it's valued, there's a good chance you're probably going to get, at least one positional advantage at QB or tight end, or maybe even both. So make sure you're paying attention to how the draft's breaking out. But to me, if you can do that with these 2 positions, your atypical positions in tight end and quarterback in the early rounds, it's worth it if you can grab these guys and then addressing running back again until, your 9th, 10th round if it breaks out the right way. But before we get into the mock draft, today's video is brought to you by the Stunt. I got a short video to show you what they're all about. Social media is such a crowded space these days. If you're looking for sports content on the latest news, advice, or hell, even entertainment, it can be cluttered by content you don't actually want to see. That's where the Stunt comes in. They've taken all the elements of your favorite social media apps, brought it to one place, and made it about the one thing we love most: sports. Stunt was founded by an ex-Google employee, so the design is eye-popping and the navigation is simple. Check out the latest takes, sparks, and live rooms from us and other content creators like Trey Wingo and Michael Irvin. Don't just follow sports. Be a part of the conversation. Download the Stunt app today. And again, guys, we're live on the Stunt right now. Every Friday, we're previewing each and every division in the NFL. So if you are a fan of, let's say, we're gonna be doing the AFC and NFC West this week. If you're a fan of any of those teams, would love to get you in the live room. Tell me a little bit about what you think about these teams heading into the season, things that I might not realize or recognize. So we'll be doing the AFC West and the NFC West, talking about those on Friday afternoon. I've been posting in the community as well, giving you guys updates there. So be sure to check that stuff out. A lot of valuable information, and then great to be able to connect with a lot of you guys on there. So go download the Stunt. The link is down below in the description. Now, in our mock draft, I'm going to be going from the number 3 spot. I think it gives me the best chance to go between both of the strategies we just talked about, either the hero RB start or the zero RB start. Again, it's more likely than not you're probably going to run into wide receiver in this early part of the rounds, but again, can go either way. So again, we're going from the 3, a 12-team league. I've got 2 flex spots here as well, and then I believe I have 5 bench spots plus our usual at every other spot in a PPR format here. So let's start the draft. Again, looking at most likely Jamar Chase, but again, this could go either way, and it goes exactly like that. Jamar Chase going to me at the 3rd. So we know now at the wide receiver start, I will be looking for a running back here, but again, I'm going off of basically my best player available in this early part of the draft. I'm not going to be looking at a specific position and saying, I won't take a guy because I want running back that badly. Okay, and I got this in a previous video that Tony Pollard isn't making it this far. I can completely understand people's thought behind that. I wouldn't be shocked if Tony Pollard doesn't make it to me here, but I am fortunate enough that he does, and he is one of those guys to me that has that upside when you look at Zeke leaving all those touchdowns behind. So Pollard will be my hero RB here in this particular draft, and then we'll look to some other positions to fill out the rest of the team. Did have a couple of the guys. Devontae Smith was a player who usually gets to me. He is gone. So both my tight end and my 2 QBs that I liked, if they made it back to the 3rd, are gone. So we'll be looking now to the 4th round on that comeback for either Justin Herbert or Justin Fields. And right now, I think Chris Olave is my next best player available here. And again, we're definitely looking at the wide receiver position. The connection now with Carr should be really interesting when it comes to Carr I think he leads the league in deep ball targets over the last 2 seasons. So a good opportunity there with Olave in New Orleans. Again, waiting to see if either of these quarterbacks make it to me, and they do. Okay, Fields makes it back to me. Hawkinson almost made it back to me too. So Fields will be the pick for me here. Again, looking for one of those positional advantages. Fields is definitely a guy for me that is in that tier. Again, in this spot, these are the kinds of running backs I'm really not very into between Pierce and Dobbins and Akers. And then at the wide receiver spot, My next best player available would actually be Chris Godwin. I know Godwin here in an offense with the Bucs that isn't expected to be playing at a really high level, but Godwin is a player in those intermediate areas of the field that I think Baker Mayfield can get the job done with, and definitely is a team that'll be throwing the ball quite a bit, considering how poorly they ran it last year. Godwin is someone I'm really high on too, so I like being able to grab him there, and we have 3 wide receivers to start here. Still get a good group of wide receivers make it back too, which is great. So my next best available is definitely Mike Williams, and then the only real considerations here otherwise would definitely be Ayuk. Ayuk is pretty close to Williams in my rankings. He's like right around the top 20, but Williams is a guy I'm really high on with the Chargers offense. I think going to make a major change this year. So Williams will be the guy I go with there. And then we have Javonte Williams make it back. He's someone I do like. And this in the 7th round is where I'd start to look at the running back spot. Brown and Pittman, Deontay Johnson would be my next best wide receiver. This is a trio I do like: Johnson, Addison, and Dotson. The running back spot, James Cook is my next highest actually running back, and I think I'll go with him here and then look to, there's a bunch of wide receivers I still like that can fall to me between, obviously those 3 guys aren't going to, but a Gabe Davis, a Zay Flowers, a Cortland Sutton. So I'm going to go with James Cook as my RB2. Really love what we're hearing from him in camp. I was talking about this in a previous video and also tweeted it for my Twitter, was running backs that post 50-plus receptions the last 5 seasons, their average fantasy finish is RB11. And Cook has everything here in terms of in line to post 50-plus. So in a good spot here at the running back spot now. Tight end is a position that we'll look to fill out with a guy like definitely Schultz is an option, Kincaid is an option. But in this particular spot, Gabe Davis would be my next highest. He's a player who's really out on last year, but the upside from him is really hard to deny. When you look at, again, another year without the changes, Davis can get healthy. He's going to be the guy I go with here. Okay, now that we enter round 9, there's definitely some running backs you can look to. A Rashad Penny is definitely one of them as a potential touchdown scorer in Seattle to be your 3rd back. And now that I've filled out, what do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 receivers. Tight end is definitely a consideration. Cortland Sutton is one that I really like his upside. He's hard to ignore at this spot. Tight end Dalton Schultz. I'm going to go with Rashad Penny here. Fill out the RB3 spot. We're really stacked at receiver. And now I'm probably looking for either a tight end to fall to me in a Dalton Schultz, but he might not make it to me here. A Dalton Kincaid is a player I'm worth taking a flyer on and then addressing a second tight end at the next spot. So there goes Schultz. So Kincaid is definitely someone to look to this late once we get to the back half of the 10th. I do think that he's going to be on the field quite a bit, regardless of the fact there's competition. Jerick McKinnon is who I'll go with here. I'm going to see if I can get Kincaid on the swing around back. McKinnon's in an offense that obviously is going to produce plenty of points, and McKinnon in a PPR format is definitely an excellent, like if you're going with this hero RB strategy. We've really added a few more running backs than I expected, but I had good value on some of these guys, so I'm definitely willing to take them. McKinnon will be my RB4 for this team. And then we will go tight end spot, Chigakonkwo, Greg Dulcich, Tyler Higbee. Algier is definitely a solid one, just with the standalone value. Yeah, we'll go with Algier here as we keep building out the running back spot. Again, the later rounds is where I'm looking to build out the running back spot. And now that I missed out on a few of the tight ends that I would have preferred to have, I'm going to look to a couple of guys that really are not shot in the dark, but like more upside potential plays. Laporta is that guy for me, so Laporta is an easy take there. And then I'll probably look for Everett on the swing, but usually in a few leagues you'll have a little bit deeper rounds. If you look at any other positions, Nico Collins is not a bad play there either. Jeff Wilson as a potential in Miami to be kind of more the touchdown guy for their offense. And yeah, I'll go. So I'm going to fill out both tight end spots. Gerald Everett will be the guy on a more week-to-week basis with the Chargers offense, could be a little bit more reliable. Laporta is definitely worth the upside with kind of the absence of targets in this offense. But from what we're looking at with this team. I definitely like what we've got here. Okay, so the roster. Justin Fields in the quarterback spot, able to execute on grabbing one of those top tier guys. Tony Pollard and James Cook as my backs. Pollard kind of being that hero back for me. And then Jamar Chase, Chris Olave, Chris Godwin, and Mike Williams, the receivers, and then those 2 flex spots are really, really solid here with guys that really have great floors and great proven production. Laporta at the tight end spot to go with Gerald Everett. And then we really crushed a bunch of potential guys with, I think, a ton of upside in Rashad Penny, Jerick McKinnon, and Tyler Algier on the bench, and then Gabe Davis as that next guy up at the receiver spot. All right, so again, that's kind of executing my early round or my strategy from those early picks 1 to 4 in your fantasy football draft, looking at either that hero RB start, or even for some of you, if a guy like Tony Pollard isn't there, potentially going with a 0 RB start, and like I didn't do in this one particularly, you could look to grab one of those Mark Andrews, Jalen Hurts type of players too, and really build out a roster that I could live off of a 0 RB strategy that is James Cook, Rashad Penny, Jerick McKinnon, Tyler Algier. Like that's still definitely possible for some of you guys if you do feel a little bit more like you'd love to have that positional advantage at quarterback, at tight end with Mark Andrews. Sorry, I guess I mentioned quarterback, but we did get one in Fields. So a Mark Andrews potential play over Pollard there could be something you might like after looking at how I drafted this. But again, that's the draft strategy for picks 1 to 4 in your fantasy football drafts. If you guys are a little bit later in your drafts with your pick, those videos are coming throughout the week. If you guys enjoyed today's video, be sure to let me know. Hit that subscribe button, like the video as well. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we will see you on the next one.